we could sit here, and we will, and be impressed by so many things. Was there anything that really popped, though? What was the most impressive thing of all the impressive things?
Deebo Samuel.
Deebo.
It was Deebo, the way he was running angry, breaking tackles, and just the way it felt like he had a personal vendetta against every single person in the city of Philadelphia.
He did. I don't think it was like that. It was that.
Right. And so when you watch him, and something about the way he runs with these short, choppy steps, but he's so quick. He's quicker than he should be based on how big he is. He's big and he's thick, and the way he runs, he doesn't run like when you watch Tyreek and it's like, wow, gone.
Oh, well,
he's so fast.
That's like sprinter world-class speed.
Right. Yeah. But Deebo, you look at him and he's so big and strong and thick. I don't think that he would be that quick, but he is. And he's able to make maneuvers and cuts, and then he fights through contact, and then he has open grass and nobody catches him. And watching him in the end zone the first time, and then the second time, and then the third time, it's like, oh my God, this guy he wants to just get up there and talk to every individual fan and let them know.
That had to be, and I wonder if that was his favorite day as a professional football player.
As a human being.
I mean, I can't think of another day when you add in all the talk and what was said and the back and forth and everything that went into that game, that had to feel as good as anything ever before inside of a football uniform for Deebo Samuel. But also, to your point, he is an example of what the Niners have about 8 or 9 of. And this is why, I like, if I were playing against them, you look around the league, and that's why it's so funny that, the wine and cheese soft Niners. There are about 8 or 9 players on the 49ers where if you end up in sort of an open space battle against them, dude, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Deebo Samuel is not to be messed with physically one-on-one. Trent Williams is ragdolling 260-pound, like, cut out of rock men. Dre Greenlaw does it. George Kittle does it, who blocked 2 people on Deebo's run into the end zone on the right sideline.
He lightweight is holding both of them, but in that spot down the field, let him go.
That's kind of, blocking and holding are there's a very fine line between
when you look at the picture of Deebo going in, and George has got his left hand grabbing the jersey of the trail defender, and he's locked up, arm around the other guy, and he's kind of blocking them both as he goes. But I'll say this, and I'll keep it to 10 seconds because people never want to hear this from me or anybody. Give the refs credit. They let him play yesterday. The referees let them play. They let contact go. Yeah. They let the majority of stuff go. The Dre Greenlaw and the fat guy, they couldn't afford. I mean, they couldn't let go. I thought they did a good job of letting a lot of stuff go. That's all.
Yeah. Look, for me, most games where there isn't like stuff that stands out egregiously from the refs, I walk away from that. Were there plays where I'm sure Eagles fans were mad, plays where 49ers fans were mad? I know Niners fans didn't love a lot of the stuff Greg Olsen was saying. I didn't love all of it either. I saw the game very differently than he did, certain plays. But whatever. Yeah, like the officials were not a story. And quite frankly, I don't even know how much of it was their decision, what ends up happening in the ejection from the game. They've got earpieces. That's New York. Yeah. And obviously that's a weird deal. Like Dre earned whatever was going on there, but the premise is faulty for me. And I think that's what Kyle Shanahan was getting at. It's like, we're not going to excuse that the tackle is a personal foul.
Yeah.
And obviously you can't contact personnel in the face. You can't do that.
I like your use of personnel.
Well, non-uniformed personnel. You can't do that, but I think everybody also understands there's a faulty premise here, which is that non-uniformed personnel contacted him first.
Correct.
And that is a hard no. It is a hard no. And the clear flaw in the system is that if you do allow that, and as Kevin Burkhardt said, which ticked everybody off, well, that's 1 for 1. No, it's not.
No.
Fat Dom wasn't going to make any tackles in this game. So if you can get if you're going to get your non-uniform personnel to get key players on the other side thrown out, You take that every time.
Yeah, at the very least, it should have been a 15-yard penalty because of what Fat Dom did, and then at least those would offset. He still gets ejected, but at least that would be an offset, and they wouldn't have gotten the additional 15 on top of it. But it's one of those things where there are so many people down on the sidelines. I'm surprised you don't see that kind of thing more often. Big Dom. I mean, it was like it birthed. How Philly, he's going to grow up and he's going to be a sideline guy for the Eagles. I mean, it was just, it's a cartoon character. 17 pounds at birth. We broke your quarterback. Big Dom. Big Dom. Oh, thank God Nick Sirianni's got him. Thank God Big Dom is there. Because does anybody know any other large men over there on the Eagles sideline that could help Nick out in case of a crisis? Oh, my God. It's so funny you're saying this. What the hell is Big Dom doing over there? I had the same take before you showed up today. Yeah. I was talking to somebody out there in the kitchen, and I was like, of all the people who don't need security in this world, how about the biggest, strongest, toughest, baddest individuals in our country? Right. In a home game. Like, I don't know, man. If something goes haywire and I'm Nick Sirianni, I want Fletcher Cox to come help me. Sure. Not Big Dom. Okay? There's a number of guys I would choose before Big Dom. Jason Kelsey. Jalen Carter. Jordan Davis. Thank you. Hassan Reddick. You guys go ahead and get out there. Jalen was in his feelings. He needed a moment. Of course he did. That was a tough moment. That was hard. He got a 15-yard penalty. Very difficult, emotional moment. Jonathan in the city. It's all about you today. 888-957-9570. What'd you think? What stood out? Hey, Jonathan, what are you doing?
Hey, I just finished blocking the feathers out of this eagle. I stomped on it. It's now, black and blue. I'm going to put it on a golden platter on its way to Dallas with the Cowgirls. And, hey, that was a classic. Talk loud, walk louder. I mean, wow, Deebo backed it up big time, man. And not just him, everybody. And this is the most important thing I saw about the game. You know, I call all the time, and you never hear me worry about the offense because I know the rest of the guys in college, they got that side of the ball. But the most important thing I saw about the game yesterday, they finally have a plan, and they executed beautifully against a running quarterback with a strong arm, which has haunted him in the past before. So, hey, this is what I'm talking about, man. It's December going to January. It's time to peak, guys. It's time. It's go time. So get stronger. And what would I say about, praying for a health, Mark? Amen, brother.
Yeah, nice. Jonathan, I'll say this. You talk about peaking. I get it. This is going to sound way overconfident. 1,000 different things can happen between now and January. You never get comfortable. But the bottom line, for me, through my eyes, this has always been true. It's been true all year long. I wasn't worried about them. I didn't like the 3-game losing streak. It's frustrating, but I never thought they weren't going to figure it out. Like, I don't know that they need to peak. I just think they're the best team. They just need to be healthy and not have game flow get out of control. And that can happen at any time. It's football. They could lose. Of course. They could lose in January. Well, they can't lose in January, and they can't lose in February. No, but they could. Like, it could happen. Of course, but that's where you need to peak. I mean, ideally, you're going to peak every Sunday, but that's not possible. Now, you probably played an A- game against Philadelphia. Damn near a perfect game. Yeah. I mean, the opening two drives. What's the minus? Just the first quarter? The whole first quarter. Yeah, but that, to me, that's like par for the course. When you're going into that building and that energy, you got to find a way to navigate that onslaught. For me, that's bogey for the course. It's not par for the course. Yeah. And, ideally, you would have at least been able to possess it and get field goals. You went 3 and out twice, and if it wasn't for your sturdy defense, you would have been in the exact situation you just described that you have to avoid, which is having the game flow get out of hand, because you could have been down 14-0. No, but that's why there's two sides of the ball. And I get it. And the Niners trust their defense. That's why they give them the ball first. And the defense was fantastic. I mean, if you actually look at the first half, I know that people will the first quarter happened. I get it. But when Kyle Shanahan goes to bed at night, the first quarter, the first half was in his dreams. That's exactly the way you draw it up. We're going to navigate the energy. Then we're going to have the ball in our hands with the lead with 3 minutes to go in the half. We will drive that ball down the field. We will score. And then we will come out of the halftime break and get the ball again.
Score again,
and score again. And if we do that, we are going to be up by 2 scores and have control of this game. And it's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it was. And I don't think that he would have taken that dream start as 3 plays -2, 3 plays -4, and then you don't get the ball again until the second quarter. That, I'm sure, was not his ideal. But to your point, that's exactly what he wanted at the end of the half, which is get the last score, and then you get the ball to start the third and get the first score. Now you're up 21-6. And the game was not salted away at that point by any stretch, because Philadelphia, with the aid of some penalties, went down the field, scored a touchdown to make it a 1-score game again, crowd back in it. You're one of your best defenders now ejected from the football game.
No, that's nerve-wracking.
But then you turn it around and you go 5 plays, 77 yards, touchdown again, 28-13. And at that point, it felt like all the momentum that Philly had seized was gone.
Yeah. Deebo Samuel breaks a tackle and takes it to the house. And that's the end of that. But the Eagles are much more comfortable in the second half, trailing by 8-10 than the 49ers are.
Right.
So, for me, I was more frustrated in that moment than I was by the first quarter. The first quarter, I'm like, I get it. They're feeling it out. It's not like I was happy about it, but I'm like, I understand what's going on here. Just don't let everything get out of hand and everything's fine. In the third quarter, when you gift wrap them a trip back into the game, it's like, guys, you've got them. Just stay disciplined. Don't let them lure you back in. And they did. And luckily their offense was so good it didn't matter. And it was able to bail them out. How about Mike in the city? Next on Willard and Dibs. Hi, Mike. What's up?
What's going on, guys?
How you doing?
I'm doing great. Really loved the game yesterday, especially because my company is headquartered in New Jersey. A lot of Eagles fans. And they were still talking trash about Purdy even today, saying he's a noodle arm. And one thing occurred to me, I just want to know your guys' thoughts on it. I think we've seen this in the Bay Area before. Athletic domination coming from a guy who is not athletically dominant. And that guy is Steph Curry. Now, I'm not trying to say Purdy is Steph Curry level, but he dominates through skill, and his skill is read and react. You look after that first quarter, what was he, 19 of 25 for 314 and 4? That's domination. And if guys can't see it, they're casuals, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just want to know what you guys think.
I think you're spot on, and it's actually, there's an interesting sort of, again, I'm going to leave Brock out of this because it's only been 365 days of us even knowing him. But if you do go through the history of the greatest offensive players in this market, you could line them all up standing next to you, and you wouldn't really be overwhelmed physically by any of them. From Steph Curry to Joe Montana to Jerry Rice.
Barry Bonds?
Well, okay, that's separate, and he got a little help. But anyway.
Good hitting coach.
Yes.
Won the genetic lottery.
And again, not all of them, but a lot of them. Even if I go down a step, not the all-time greats.
Sure.
But guys like Jeff Garcia, people who have had a lot of success in this city where you're like, you? Like,
right.
You don't look like Dre Greenlaw. You don't look like T.O. You just look like us. And they're some of the most successful athletes this city has ever known.
Without a doubt.
And maybe he will one day be one of them too. We'll see.
It would be great if he did, and he's on a pretty good track after 365 days. If you just think about, and it's a year ago that he got the first real chance to be quarterback, and I know he played before that, mop-up duty, he had taken some snaps, etc. But if you mark just the last 365 days of Brock, and you look at his winning percentage as a starter, which is, I think, 15-3 as a starter, 9-3 this year. I think it was 6-0 last year. Couple of playoff games. The guy's winning about 85% of his games, leading the league in QBR and rating and yards per attempt, and now he's the front runner for MVP. all in the course of 365 days. That's more accelerated than anybody else in Bay Area history. The Steph Curry story took a number of years, and it took bad ankles, and it took a trade of Monte, and it was an evolution for him to get to where he was. And Joe Montana, they stunk his rookie year, and he didn't immediately pop. And Jerry Rice, they said that he had problems dropping the football early in his career. So the fact that Brock has gone from there to this in just one, not a calendar year, but an actual year, 365 days, that makes it even more remarkable.
I have a stat that all of you can use. Anytime anybody bugs you about Brock Purdy, I'm going to hold it until 3 o'clock.
All right.
It's 2:49 right now. But I have a stat that is a catch-all. Anytime anybody, if they're from a different city, if they've got an East Coast accent, they go, it's a noodle arm. Okay. Anybody who wants to play that game, remember the guy who called us Friday? What does he do? Like, what is it that Brock Purdy actually does? Like, he's just out there going beepity, boppity, boop, and just handing the ball to other people and letting them do all of his work. Whenever somebody does that and it drives you nuts, I've got the shutdown, and it is a mic drop because it will put to bed anything that anyone says about no arm or about screen passes or dink and dunk or any of that stuff. It will put it to bed. So I'm going to let you get your pen. Just be ready in 10 minutes.
Okay, it's a big tease, a big buildup.
10 minutes.
It better be good.
It's brief and so to the point. It's just like, well, that's the end of that. That's the end of that. Like holiday parties, you just leave this for someone and then you say Happy New Year and we'll see you around the bend. I'm going to go hang out with my family. You chew on that. Okay?
You're going to send this to all the voters out there, the MVP voters?
I don't know if I have to right now. Like, I would argue, and again, I don't even know, like, it's only week 13. It's not time to vote for the MVP yet.
Right.
All kinds of stuff still needs to happen. But if you look at those numbers that you just threw out, a 9-3 football team that has a quarterback that's going 23 tugs against 6 picks, leading in passer rating, leading in completion percentage, right? Biggest games come in their biggest games. If you just run by that list and attach it to any other name, be a runaway MVP. If Mahomes or Hurts had these numbers, it would be over. We would not even be talking about someone, quote unquote, being in the race. It would be a runaway with those numbers.
That's what makes this year's MVP race so fascinating to me, is because the names that are in the race, Dak Prescott, for example, when you say the name Dak Prescott and MVP, you're normally laughed at. But he is tied for first in the league in QBR. They have the exact same QBR, Brock Purdy and Dak Prescott. Okay. That's the ESPN number. The actual quarterback rating, Dak Prescott is number 2. He's 8 points behind Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's on got to be a record-setting pace for quarterback rating. I don't know what the highest rating for a season ever is. I'll look it up. He's at 116.1, which is gaudy.
There's only 4 over 100 in the whole league.
Yeah, I got 5 over 100.
Right.
Well, Kirk is out.
So,
yes, but CJ's coming back to earth a little bit.
But he's winning games.
And Tua's number 3. And I'm surprised that Tua isn't higher on the list, but the 10 interceptions maybe, and the fact that Tyreek is everybody's boutique pick for MVP off of that team. But to that point, all the names at the top of the list are not household. And the former MVPs, Lamar Jackson is 8th on the list. Patrick Mahomes is having maybe his 6th or 7th best quarterback year in football. Josh Allen's team is struggling. Joe Burrow is now out for the year. So when you think about Brock, Dak, and Tua, these are not guys who you normally would put in that company, which is why it's going to be an interesting vote this year more interesting maybe than ever before.
Yeah, and a lot will come down to almost like a Heisman, I think, who's winning their games in the end,
right?
Who gets the 1 seed. You know, Brock's next huge test is going to be on, I mean, they all are, but Christmas night against the Ravens, and if that goes well and the Niners end up the 1 seed, I think it can be hard-pressed for him to not end up winning the award, but that's a long way off. Charles in South City. Hey, Charles, what's up? You're on with Willard and Dibs.
Hey, guys. How you doing today?
Pretty damn
how you doing?
Good.
I'm doing great. That was a nice little early birthday gift from yesterday. Good to see Philly's downfall a little bit. So I'm going to get right to the point, little rat-tat-tat, if you guys don't mind.
Yep.
So definitely, so I got a few things, or a couple things. Obviously, Niners, and then I'll get to Philadelphia after. But obviously, Brock Purdy, everyone's saying Brock Purdy, noodle arm. Well, that noodle arm threw for at least over 300 yards on you guys. And honestly, Deebo looked so good yesterday. That was restaurant quality, big time. Ayuk, Kittle blocking, CMC. And, and here's the thing for you guys. You know what you call Juwan Jennings on third down?
Third and Juwan,
Think of like a blocker avenue. So think of a blocker avenue. You call that third and Jennings right there. You see Juwan Jennings, you say, oh, that's third and Jennings.
Charles, great stuff. Thank you very, very much.